Ladies, let me tell you something unapologetically a high. Al, you woman doesn't chase validation. She doesn't play small, she doesn't shrink to fit a room, and she definitely doesn't beg for a man's attention. She walks into a space knowing exactly who she is, and when she speaks to a man, she speaks from power, not desperation. Confidence is not just a mood for her, it's a language, a presence, a way of life. When a high value woman talks to a man, she doesn't try to impress him, she connects. She doesn't throw around her achievements like trophies to be admired, but her energy speaks volumes. Her tone is calm, her words are intentional. She doesn't talk over people, she listens, because she knows that mystery is magnetic and silence sometimes is louder than noise. She doesn't interrupt to prove a point, because she knows her aura already made it. Her conversation is full of depth, not drama. She doesn't ask, "Do you like me?" She pays attention and asks herself, "Do I like you?" That's the shift. She's not waiting for approval, she is the approval. And she knows a man who's truly secure will never be intimidated by her strength, he will be inspired by it. She doesn't beg for respect. She commands it not with arrogance, but with grace. She's assertive, but not aggressive. Clear, but never cruel, and she will walk away the moment she sees her worth being questioned. Not out of spite, but because protecting her peace is a priority, not an option. She doesn't ask twice. She doesn't explain her boundaries to make someone feel better. She honors herself with her words, and that creates the standard. You see, it's not about being cold, it's about being clear. It's not about playing games, it's about playing by your values. A high value woman doesn't manipulate, she expresses. She doesn't attack, she articulates. And if a man can't handle that level of clarity, then he was never strong enough to stand beside her in the first place. She compliments without losing her edge, she flirts without losing her focus, she shows interest but never obsession, because the one thing she'll never sacrifice for a man is herself. Her conversations uplift, challenge, and leave a man thinking long after she's left the room. So to every woman listening, you don't need to talk louder to be heard. Speak with your spirit, speak from your worth, and the right man won't just listen, he'll lean in, because Al, you woman doesn't speak to impress, she speaks to inspire. And that, darling, is unforgettable. A you woman understands that her voice carries power, and that power does not come from being loud or dramatic. It comes from certainty. When she communicates with a man, she does not speak from a place of needing approval or reassurance. She speaks from grounded self-worth. She knows who she is, what she brings to the table, and what she will or won't tolerate. That quiet confidence shows up in the way she speaks, listens, and even in the way she holds eye contact. She doesn't over-explain herself or try to convince someone to see her value, because she already sees it within herself. In conversation, she does not shrink herself to appear more likable. She doesn't try to adjust her personality to match what she assumes a man wants. Instead, she stays rooted in her identity. If she's passionate about something, she speaks with fire. If she disagrees, she doesn't pretend to agree just to keep the peace. She knows that any connection worth having will be built on truth, not performance. There's no desperation in her tone. She's not talking just to be liked. She's speaking to be understood, and there's a big difference between the two. When a woman speaks from desperation, there's a subtle energy of "please choose me." But when she speaks from confidence, the energy becomes "I choose myself, and if you're aligned, you're welcome to walk with me." That's the essence of high value. It's never about proving, it's about presenting. It's not about chasing attention, it's about commanding respect. And people naturally respond to that kind of self-assurance because it's rare, magnetic, and inspiring. Even in moments of vulnerability, you woman holds her ground. She can express emotions without losing dignity. She might share her fears, her dreams, or even her heartbreak, but she does it in a way that's real, not needy. She doesn't fear silence in a conversation, nor does she feel the need to fill every gap. Her calm presence does the talking even when her mouth is still. Ultimately, her confidence isn't loud. It's quiet, composed, and undeniable. And when she talks to a man, she does so as an equal, not a subordinate, not someone trying to win approval, but as a woman who knows her worth and won't settle for less than respect, presence, and authenticity in return. A you woman doesn't approach conversations with the intent to perform. She's not auditioning for attention, and she's certainly not putting on a show to win someone's approval. When she talks to a man, her goal isn't to dazzle him with rehearsed charm or calculated wit. Instead, she focuses on connection. That's the difference between someone who seeks admiration and someone who seeks alignment. She brings her full self to the table, flaws, fire, softness, and all, and allows the connection to flow naturally without force. She doesn't feel the need to overshare just to fill silence. She knows that her energy can do more than words ever could. Her presence has weight because she's anchored in her truth. She listens with genuine interest, not just waiting for her turn to speak. She asks questions that go beyond the surface, not because she wants to impress with her emotional intelligence, but because she truly cares about depth. That's where her power lies, in her ability to make someone feel seen without losing herself in the process. In conversations, she doesn't compete, she doesn't dominate, she doesn't try to outshine a man. She understands that real intimacy is created in spaces where both people feel safe being authentic. She doesn't twist herself to fit someone else's mold. If something makes her laugh, she laughs loudly. If something feels off, she addresses it without passive aggression. She's unafraid of emotional honesty, but she never uses her vulnerability as a tool for manipulation. This woman is self-aware. She knows when she's being open and when she's being performative, and she chooses authenticity every time. That authenticity makes her magnetic. Because while others are busy trying to be what they think someone wants, she's just being real. And that kind of presence is unforgettable. It disarms people, it draws them in. It makes a man slow down, listen, and lean in. Not because she's trying to be irresistible, but because her sincerity is rare. Her conversations don't revolve around trends, gossip, or shallow flattery. They carry weight. They leave people feeling better, clearer, more connected. She speaks life into others without trying to be perfect. She understands that depth is more attractive than performance, and authenticity is more powerful than charm. So when she speaks to a man, she's not there to act, she's there to connect. And that difference is what sets her apart in a world full of noise. Hi, Val, you woman doesn't walk into a conversation with a man hoping to be chosen. She walks in asking herself whether he meets her standards. This subtle but powerful shift changes everything about how she communicates. She's not auditioning for a role in someone else's life. She's already the main character in her own. That inner confidence shows up in how she listens, how she responds, and how she carries herself. While many people anxiously wonder, does he like me? She's quietly observing and asking, do I like how he makes me feel? Is this someone whose values align with mine? She doesn't give access to just anyone. She understands that attention is not the same as intention. A man may compliment her, pursue her, or show initial interest, but she doesn't get swept away by surface-level charm. She pays attention to consistency, to how he treats others, to whether his words match his actions. Her focus is not on being liked, but on being respected, and that kind of awareness keeps her grounded. She's not easily flattered or swayed because she knows that true connection requires more than chemistry. It requires character. When she speaks, she's assessing just as much as she's sharing. She's not afraid to ask direct questions, to set boundaries, or to express what she's looking for. And if something doesn't feel right, she doesn't cling to hope or fantasy. She steps back, not because she's cold, but because she refuses to invest in someone who doesn't show up with equal energy. She knows that peace is better than forced affection. Silence is better than mixed signals. She chooses clarity over confusion every single time. This approach also means she's not afraid of walking away. If she senses that a man doesn't honor her standards or respect her boundaries, she leaves without creating drama. She doesn't wait for things to get worse or for someone to change. She's already done the inner work to know what she deserves, and she won't compromise just to avoid being alone. Her solitude is sacred to her, not something she fears. She's not waiting for someone to complete her. She's looking for someone who complements the life she's already building. That's the kind of woman who shifts the dynamic entirely. She's not desperate to fit into someone else's world. She's inviting someone into hers. And in doing so, she holds all the power, not because she demands it, but because she embodies it. Ahai, Val, you woman doesn't need to ask for respect. She expects it, and she carries herself in a way that makes that expectation clear without saying a word. Her energy speaks louder than her voice. When she enters a room, there is something about her that sets a tone. It's not arrogance or entitlement. It's a quiet strength, an inner knowing that she is not to be played with. She doesn't demand attention, but she naturally commands it, because people can feel the boundary she holds around her dignity. She knows that respect isn't something to negotiate. It's a requirement, and if it's not freely given, she doesn't argue. She simply walks away. This kind of woman doesn't chase apologies or beg for someone to treat her right. If a man crosses the line, disrespects her time, her values, or her boundaries, she doesn't explain over and over why it's wrong. She doesn't stay hoping he'll wake up and change. She knows that once respect is broken repeatedly, trust is hard to rebuild. And her peace, her time, her self-respect, they are too precious to gamble on inconsistency. She has a graceful way of exiting, not with bitterness but with clarity. She doesn't need to make a scene to make a statement. Her absence is enough. She is assertive but never aggressive. She expresses herself clearly without being cruel. She doesn't belittle or threaten to gain control in a conversation. Instead, she speaks directly, with conviction and compassion. When she says no, it's firm. When she says yes, it's wholehearted. There is no in-between, no second guessing. And people respect her for that, even if they don't always agree with her. Because she respects herself, others are forced to rise to that level or fall away. She sets the standard not just in how she's treated, but in how she treats others. She never stoops to revenge, games, or drama. Even when someone disrespects her, she refuses to lower herself. She stays in her grace. She lets her values speak louder than her emotions. And that inner discipline is what makes her rare. Men who are secure and emotionally mature are drawn to that strength. They recognize that a woman who respects herself teaches others how to treat her without ever having to raise her voice. That kind of power doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be lived. And that's what she does every single day. Ahai, Val, you woman understands the power of clear, authentic expression. She doesn't manipulate. She doesn't twist words or use silence as punishment. When something matters to her, she speaks on it with calm, poise, and directness. She doesn't rely on passive-aggressive hints or emotional games to get a point across. Instead, she articulates her feelings with honesty and strength. Her communication is rooted in self-awareness, not control. She knows that real connection thrives in honesty, not in confusion or emotional chaos. And because she respects her own emotions, she gives them the dignity of truth rather than turning them into tactics. She never uses vulnerability as a tool for attention or sympathy. When she opens up, it's because she chooses to share, not because she's trying to elicit a response. Her openness is powerful because it's clean. It's not about guilt tripping or seeking validation. She's not telling her story to be pitied. She's sharing because it's real and it matters to her. That level of honesty disarms people, especially men who are used to women speaking in codes and expecting them to decipher it all. With her, there's clarity. You never have to guess what she's thinking because she values emotional maturity over mind games. Even when she's upset, she chooses to express instead of explode. She doesn't let anger control her tone. She may be direct, but she remains composed. She never raises her voice to prove a point. She knows that the strongest message is often delivered in a calm, unwavering voice. She doesn't try to win arguments. She tries to create understanding. That's her power. She doesn't fight for dominance, she stands for truth. And if someone can't meet her in that space of mature communication, she won't force the connection. She is also unafraid to say what she wants. Whether it's a relationship, respect, time, or space, she communicates her needs without apology. She knows that her desires are valid, and she won't suppress them to seem more agreeable. She would rather be real and misunderstood than fake and accepted. That kind of emotional clarity is rare and powerful. When she expresses herself, people listen, not because she demands it, but because her words carry weight. There's no manipulation. There's no emotional theatrics. There's only truth, and that truth is always delivered with purpose. It's that emotional intelligence, that grace under pressure, that makes her unforgettable in a world where many still choose games over growth. Hi, Val. You woman knows that her words aren't just tools for conversation. They are instruments of influence. She doesn't speak to impress, she speaks to leave an imprint. When she talks to a man, whether it's light-hearted or deep, her words carry intention. She understands that her voice has the power to shift the atmosphere, to build connection, and to ignite something meaningful. She doesn't fill space with noise. She brings substance, perspective, and presence. Even in casual moments, she leaves people better than she found them because what she says, and how she says it, is a reflection of the strength and grace within her. She isn't concerned with being trendy or clever just for attention. Her conversations are rooted in who she is, not who she thinks she should be. When she compliments someone, it's not for manipulation, it's genuine. When she disagrees, it's not an attack, it's thoughtful. She's not interested in surface-level flattery or empty talk. She wants to inspire, to challenge, to connect on a level that feels real. That depth is what makes her unforgettable. She's not afraid to ask questions that matter. She's not afraid to pause and let silence do some of the talking. She knows that power doesn't always come from saying more. It often comes from saying the right things at the right time. She can flirt without losing focus. Her confidence allows her to show interest without chasing. Her conversations never feel desperate or forced. Even when she's showing admiration, it's balanced with self-respect. She doesn't overdo it. She doesn't try to convince someone to see her worth. Her words are an extension of her truth, not a performance designed to please. That authenticity resonates deeply with the right kind of man, the one who values substance over spectacle. When she shares her perspective, people listen because there's a quiet conviction in her tone. She might speak softly, but there's a strength behind her voice that makes others pay attention. Her insights stay with people. Her advice lingers, her energy is remembered. She doesn't just enter a conversation, she elevates it. That's what sets her apart. In a world that often rewards volume over value, she chooses depth. She speaks to inspire, not just to be heard. She understands that the right words can heal, shift, and awaken something powerful in someone else. That's her gift. Her presence lingers not because she tried to be memorable, but because her words carried soul, intention, and fearless authenticity.